The shocking truth about nighttime brain repair. You finish your dinner, wash the dishes, and sit down to watch the evening news. It is a routine you have likely followed for decades. You feel tired, perhaps a bit heavy in the eyes, and you assume that because your body is stationary, your brain is winding down too. We tend to think of sleep as a power switch, a moment where the biological machine simply turns off to save energy. But modern neuroscience has revealed that this assumption is dangerously incorrect, especially for those of us over the age of 60. The glymphatic system, your brain's cleaning crew. There is a specific mechanism discovered relatively recently by researchers at the University of Rochester Medical Center known as the glymphatic system. This is essentially the brain's plumbing system, and here is the fascinating part. It is 10 times more active while you sleep than when you are awake. During deep sleep, your brain cells actually shrink by about 60% to allow cerebrospinal fluid to wash through the tissue, flushing out toxic proteins like beta amyloid that accumulate during the day. If this washing process does not happen, if the brain lacks the specific nutrients required to fuel this pump, that toxic waste remains. It settles, and over years it hardens into the plaques we associate with severe cognitive decline. So the question isn't just how well are you sleeping, but how well is your brain cleaning itself? I am Dr. Eric Berg. With extensive experience in health and nutrition, I have spent my career studying the subtle shifts in physiology that dictate how we age. Before we go any further, I would love to know who is sitting with me today. Please leave a comment below telling me your age and which country you are watching from. I make it a point to read through these and reply because seeing a global community of seniors taking proactive steps for their health is genuinely the most encouraging part of my work. If you find this information useful, please consider liking the video, sharing it with a friend who might worry about their memory, and subscribing to the channel if you are new here. We are building a resource for intelligent aging, and I am glad you have joined us. Why this conversation matters. We need to have a serious conversation about what is happening inside your skull once the lights go out. In my practice, I often see patients who are terrified of memory loss. They come to me asking for prescriptions for the latest synthetic compound that promises to sharpen their recall. However, I often have to steer them back to biochemistry. The aging brain is not necessarily broken. In many cases, it is simply malnourished during its most critical work shift, which is the night. We are going to discuss 3 very specific common foods that act as bioregulators for this cleaning process. We are not talking about exotic superfoods found only in the Amazon rainforest. We are talking about items you likely have in your kitchen right now, but you are likely using them at the wrong time or in the wrong combination. Fruit number 3, the banana. Let's begin with the first component of this metabolic triad, a fruit that has been unfairly demonized by some due to its sugar content, yet holds the key to the neurochemical stability required for sleep initiation. I am talking about the banana. Now, please put aside what you think you know about potassium and cramping for a moment. From a neurological perspective, the banana is a delivery system for vitamin B6 and magnesium, 2 compounds that become critically diminished as we age. When we are young, our bodies are efficient at converting raw nutrients into neurotransmitters. As we cross the threshold of 60, the enzymatic efficiency in our gut and brain drops. We produce less serotonin and we produce less GABA. GABA, or gamma-aminobutyric acid, is the neurotransmitter that acts as the brake pedal for your nervous system. Without enough GABA, your brain stays in a state of low-level electrical excitability. You might fall asleep, but you do not enter that deep, restorative, slow-wave sleep where the glymphatic cleaning system operates. How the banana functions as a clinical tool. The banana provides a highly bioavailable form of vitamin B6, which is the essential cofactor, think of it as the spark plug required to synthesize GABA and serotonin. Without B6, the raw materials you eat simply circulate in the blood. They do not become brain signals. Furthermore, the magnesium content in a ripe banana acts as a natural calcium channel blocker. In plain English, this means it prevents calcium from rushing into your nerve cells and exciting them. It physically relaxes the neurological pathways. I have seen countless patients who complain of racing thoughts the moment their head hits the pillow. They are not anxious. They are chemically unable to downregulate their nervous system. By introducing this specific nutrient profile about an hour before bed, we are essentially manually refilling the tank that allows the brain to shift gears. The timing window. However, clinical experience tells us that simply eating a banana isn't a magic bullet if the timing is wrong. The metabolic window matters. If you eat it too early, the insulin spike dissipates before you sleep. If you eat it immediately before closing your eyes, you risk reflux and digestive unrest, which disrupts sleep quality. The sweet spot, physiologically speaking, is roughly 45 to 60 minutes before your intended sleep time. This allows for the digestion of tryptophan, an amino acid in the fruit that serves as the precursor to melatonin. In older adults, the conversion of tryptophan to melatonin is slower because our stomach acid levels decrease. By providing a natural, easily digestible source, we are bypassing some of those age-related digestive hurdles. The importance of ripeness. It is also important to address the ripeness. I advise my patients to look for the banana that most people throw away, the one with the brown spots on the peel. Scientifically, as the banana ripens, the starch converts to simple sugars and the antioxidant profile changes. The concentration of available enzymatic compounds increases, making it significantly easier for a senior digestive tract to absorb the necessary nutrients rapidly. If you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, you might worry about the glycemic impact. This is a valid medical concern. In those cases, I recommend pairing this small amount of fruit with a few almonds or walnuts. The healthy fats slow the gastric emptying rate, blunting the blood sugar spike while still delivering the neuronutrients. The goal here is not to treat the banana as food, but as a biochemical intervention. We are attempting to prime the brain for the night shift. When you stabilize the electrical activity of the brain with magnesium and provide the precursors for sleep hormones with B6 and tryptophan, you are essentially unlocking the door for the cleaning crew to enter. But unlocking the door is only the first step. Once the brain is asleep and the cleaning fluid is moving, we have to deal with the accumulated debris itself. This brings us to the second challenge of the aging brain: oxidative stress and inflammation, often referred to as rusting of the neural connections. The reality of free radicals. If the banana is the key that unlocks deep sleep, we must next consider the mechanism of repair itself. As we transition our focus to the second component of our nightly protocol, we have to address a fundamental reality of biology. Being alive generates waste. Every thought you think, every memory you recall, and every signal your neurons fire produces metabolic byproducts, specifically free radicals. These are unstable molecules that tear at the lining of your cells. In a younger body, we have a robust internal antioxidant system that sweeps these up effortlessly. But after the age of 60, that internal system slows down. The balance tips. The free radicals begin to accumulate faster than we can clear them, leading to a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation in the brain tissue. This is not the kind of inflammation you feel like a swollen knee. It is silent, microscopic, and destructive. It erodes the myelin sheath, the insulation around your nerve fibers, causing signals to slow down. This is often why, as we age, we don't necessarily lose our intelligence, but our processing speed drops. We know the answer, but it takes us a few seconds longer to find it. Fruit number 2, the apple. This is where the apple enters our clinical discussion. But we must be very specific about how we utilize this fruit because most people are throwing away the medicine and eating only the sugar. The vast majority of the neuroprotective compounds in an apple are located in the skin and the layer immediately beneath it. This includes a powerful flavonoid called quercetin. In geriatric research, quercetin has garnered significant attention because of its ability to cross the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier is a filter that protects your brain from toxins in the blood. As we age, this barrier becomes leaky, allowing inflammatory markers to enter the brain and cause fog and confusion. Quercetin acts almost like a sealant. It helps maintain the integrity of this barrier, protecting the delicate neural environment from the chaos of the rest of the body. Quercetin and the hippocampus. Furthermore, quercetin has been observed to influence the hippocampus, the area of the brain responsible for converting short-term memories into long-term ones. When I speak to patients who say, "I walked into the kitchen and forgot why I was there," that is a hippocampal hiccup. It is a momentary failure of the brain to hold a working memory. By providing a steady source of quercetin in the evening, we are essentially offering anti-inflammatory support to this specific region of the brain, right before it begins its nightly work of memory consolidation. The gut-brain connection. But the benefits of the apple extend beyond the brain itself, down to the gut. We cannot discuss brain health in 2026 without discussing the gut-brain axis. The vagus nerve connects your intestines directly to your brain, and they are in constant communication. Apples are rich in pectin, a type of soluble fiber. Pectin is not digested in the stomach. It travels to the colon, where it feeds beneficial bacteria. These bacteria ferment the fiber and produce short-chain fatty acids, specifically one called butyrate. Butyrate is fascinating because it travels through the bloodstream and stimulates the production of a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. You can think of BDNF as miracle grow for your neurons. It encourages the growth of new connections and protects existing ones. So by eating an apple, you are feeding the gut bacteria that, in turn, send chemical signals to the brain to repair itself. This is a synergistic loop that is vital for seniors whose gut microbiome diversity often depletes with age, the apple paradox. However, there is a paradox with apples that we must navigate. While the skin is anti-inflammatory, the flesh is high in fructose. If you consume a large apple immediately before bed, the sugar energy can compete with the sleep hormones we just tried to optimize with the banana. Therefore, timing is critical. I advise consuming this part of the protocol earlier in the evening, perhaps 90 minutes to 2 hours before sleep. This gives the fiber time to begin fermenting and the antioxidants time to enter the circulation without the blood sugar spike interfering with the onset of sleep. And I cannot stress this enough. Do not drink apple juice. Juice removes the fiber, specifically the pectin, and delivers a concentrated dose of sugar that spikes insulin and inflammation. That is the exact opposite of what we are trying to achieve. You must eat the whole fruit and you must chew it well to begin the breakdown of those tough skin fibers. When we look at the data regarding cognitive decline, we often see a correlation with systemic inflammation. Seniors with high markers of inflammation in their blood often score lower on cognitive tests. The apple, utilized correctly, is a broad-spectrum anti-inflammatory agent. It cools down the system. It prepares the biological terrain. If the banana opens the door to sleep, the apple provides the cleaning agents required to scrub the floors. But there is one final piece of the puzzle missing, the vascular component. We have the key and the cleaning agent, but we need a transport system. The brain is the most vascular organ in the body. It demands 20% of your blood flow, despite being only 2% of your weight. If those blood vessels are stiff, narrowed, or damaged, a condition very common in later life, the nutrients cannot reach the neurons, and the waste cannot be flushed out. We need to ensure the pipes are open. This leads us to the third component, a fruit that is often relegated to the breakfast table, but actually performs its most critical neurological work when the sun goes down. It addresses the microvascular health of the brain, ensuring that the oxygen and nutrients we are consuming actually reach the target tissue. Without this vascular support, the rest of our efforts are significantly less effective. Fruit number 1, the orange. We have established that the brain needs to downregulate for sleep and that it requires antioxidants to manage cellular waste. However, as a physician looking at the complete physiological picture of a patient over 60, I must address the infrastructure of the brain, the blood vessels themselves. Small vessel disease is one of the leading silent contributors to cognitive frailty. As we age, the tiny capillaries that feed our neurons can become stiff and less efficient. This restricts the delivery of oxygen and nutrients, essentially suffocating parts of the brain during the night when blood pressure naturally dips. To counteract this, we turn to the orange. Beyond vitamin C, most people associate oranges and vitamin C solely with immunity and fighting the common cold. While true, this overlooks the critical role vitamin C plays in neurology. The brain maintains a concentration of vitamin C significantly higher than the rest of the body because it is used rapidly during synaptic transmission. It is a cofactor in the synthesis of dopamine and norepinephrine, chemicals that drive focus and alertness. But more importantly for our nighttime discussion, vitamin C acts as a scavenger in the aqueous environment of the brain, neutralizing toxins that the fat-soluble antioxidants might miss. The magic of hesperidin, but the real magic of the orange for the aging brain lies in a bioflavonoid called hesperidin. Hesperidin is found in high concentrations in the white pith of the citrus fruit, that spongy layer most people meticulously peel off and throw away. Hesperidin has been shown to improve endothelial function. The endothelium is the inner lining of your blood vessels. When it functions well, your blood vessels can dilate and relax, allowing for optimal blood flow. By consuming hesperidin, we are helping to ensure that the brain's microcirculation remains open and responsive. This is vital during the night because the glymphatic cleaning system we discussed earlier relies on blood vessel pulsing to drive the fluid movement. If the vessels are stiff, the pump doesn't work as well. How to consume the orange. So when we introduce an orange into this evening routine, we are essentially engaging a vasodilator that supports the mechanical flushing of the brain. But just like with the apple, the method of consumption is non-negotiable. You must eat the fruit and you must leave some of the white pith on. Orange juice is frankly a metabolic disaster for most seniors due to the rapid sugar load. A few segments of a whole orange, chewed slowly, provide the hesperidin and vitamin C in a matrix of fiber that releases slowly into the bloodstream. The sunset protocol, putting it all together. Now, how do we weave these three distinct biological interventions into a cohesive evening that doesn't feel like a chore? We have to be realistic. I don't expect you to eat a fruit salad 5 minutes before bed. That would likely result in indigestion. The secret lies in staggering the intake to match the body's digestive rhythm. I suggest thinking of this as a sunset protocol. It begins roughly 2 hours before you plan to sleep. Step 1, the apple, 2 hours before bed. This is when you might have the apple. It is a heavier fiber, and eating it this early allows the pectin to settle and the fermentation process in the gut to begin without causing bloating while you try to sleep. Step 2, the orange, 90 minutes before bed. Then perhaps 45 minutes later, or about 90 minutes before bed, you have a few segments of the orange. You are introducing the vascular support, the vitamin C, and the hesperidin to prime the blood vessels. Step 3, the banana, 45-60 minutes before bed. Finally, 45 minutes to an hour before sleep, you have the small banana. This is the final signal. The magnesium helps relax the musculature, the B6 aids the neurotransmitter synthesis, and the tryptophan begins the slide toward melatonin production. Adjusting for your needs. I realize that for some, eating 3 different fruits every night seems excessive or perhaps too much sugar. If you are managing strict blood sugar controls, you do not need to eat the whole fruit of each. Half an apple, a few segments of orange, and half a banana are sufficient to provide the active compounds without overwhelming your glycemic load. The key is consistency. Biology loves rhythm. By doing this repeatedly, you are training your circadian clock. Your body begins to anticipate this nutrient influx and prepares the enzymatic pathways to use them efficiently. The bigger picture. In my years of practice, I have observed that the patients who maintain their cognitive clarity the longest are not necessarily the ones doing complex brain puzzles, but the ones who master the basics of metabolic health. They treat their sleep as a medical procedure, a time for healing, not just resting. They understand that the brain is an organ like any other. It requires fuel, it requires cleaning, and it requires blood flow. What we have discussed today is not a cure-all. It is not a replacement for medication prescribed by your cardiologist or neurologist. It is a foundational lifestyle adjustment. It is about taking control of the variables that are within your reach. You cannot stop the calendar from turning, but you can certainly influence the biological environment in which your brain operates. By providing the raw materials for repair, the magnesium, the quercetin, the hesperidin, you are giving your brain the fighting chance it deserves to wake up refreshed, sharp, and ready for the day. The 2-week challenge. I hope you will try this, not just for one night, but give it 2 weeks. Observe how your quality of sleep shifts. Notice if that morning brain fog begins to lift a little faster. And please, remember to listen to your own body. If you have specific dietary restrictions, consult with your primary care physician to adapt this to your needs. Closing thoughts. Thank you for your time and your attention today. It is a privilege to share this knowledge with you. I am Dr. Eric Berg, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video as we continue to navigate the path to healthy, independent aging together. Disclaimer. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Individual results may vary. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making dietary or lifestyle changes, especially if you have existing health conditions or are taking medications.